Hello everybody, I'm Don Counts and we're here in Fayetteville, Tennessee at the Warrior Project, and we are sitting here talking with Marshall Moffett. Marshall, you've been around here for a while, and you've talked before. You have so many interesting stories, but tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up here in Fayetteville till the 7th grade, and my family moved to Lewisburg, and went to school there at high school, and then out of high school I went to the military. That was in '67. And,
what made you go to the military?
I was wild.
And still is.
Yeah, when I went in, I wanted to go to Nam because that's all you saw. It's all you saw on TV. It's all people were talking about. I wanted to know what they were talking about. I wanted to experience it and see it. I was just that dumb, country boy, but I did. Mm-hmm. So I go through basic training at Fort Campbell, Fort Knox, AIT, then they send me to Germany. Wow. So as soon as I got to Germany, I put in a 1049, which is a request for transfer to go to Nam. So I stayed in Germany for about 6 months. A little over 6 months, and they sent me to Vietnam.
Wow. So a guy from around here going to Germany, that's a pretty big step.
It was. First time ever out of the country. No, I can't. I got to take that back. I did go to Canada. We used to go to my family.
But that's
grandparents
really,
lived. Yeah, that was different. It was
a whole different deal.
Hell, over there I ran into a friend that I grew up beside, Junior Hale. He was in the Air Force. Mm-hmm. So when I got orders to go to Nam, I stayed with him for 3 days down there on the Air Force base. Got to see Johnny Cash.
Oh, wow, Johnny Cash.
Yeah,
wow.
In a club. Had to go to Germany to see Johnny Cash.
And he's only 100 miles from here
yeah,
in Nashville.
really.
Well, that worked out good, though.
You
probably had a better seat than you would if you went up to Nashville.
What, no, hell, we stood. I mean, that place was packed.
Oh.
NCO Club, it was packed.
Everybody wanted to see Johnny back those days.
Absolutely.
Sure. So you went to Germany, then you put in to go to Nam. Then what all happened at that point?
God, well, the military trains you for something, but you never do what you. Well, I won't say that because I'm sure some people do. Most of us don't do what they train you to do.
Right.
So I get to Nam, and they tell me they're gonna make me a clerk. And I said, hell, I don't want to be no clerk.
You want to do more than that?
Absolutely. So they put me on a deuce and a half driving a truck. That lasted. I said, I don't want to drive a truck. I came over here to fight.
You sure had to go.
I was biting at the bit like a dumb country,
Yeah.
So they put me on a tank. And I swear to God, I'd never seen the inside of a tank. Didn't know a thing about a tank.
What does it look like for people like me who's never seen it?
Well, I didn't know. I thought, it had sticks like a cab or something, but it has a steering wheel. And you sit down in the front. Of course, the turret, you got the gunner and the tank commander. But hell, I knew nothing about it.
How do you see out?
Well, you can look just straight out above the metal, or you can drop your seat down, and they've got these little glasses. It's like 3 of them, and you can look out.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so.
Are they bulletproof?
Oh yeah, they're thick. Oh yeah, very thick.
Wow.
And,
were you shot at in those?
oh God, yeah.
Oh man.
But he was lieutenant at the time. He gets in. I said, hell, I don't know nothing about how you can drive. He gets in. He stays in about 2 minutes. He got out. He said, see that field? Just get out there and play with it till you get used to it. Learn how to drive it. And that's how I learned how to drive a tank.
Was it hot in there?
Yeah, it got real hot.
That's an interesting whole thing. So you had to learn how to drive it. You just went out there and drove it around, tried to figure it out.
Got a feel of it. He said, just get a feel of it. And that's how I learned about tanks. Didn't know a thing about it. We were out, and this was, I don't know, it wasn't long after that, a month or so after that. You got the 90 millimeter shells, big shell, and you take it and you put it in the, you take it and you push it up in. Well, our loader had got shot. He was off the tank, and I was down there, and Lieutenant Crow was saying, load the gun. I'm going, what'd I do? Hell, I didn't know anything about it. He was saying, just take it and push. So I take it, and I didn't push it up hard enough. So it sticks in the breech, and they got a little sledgehammer there. He Yeah, you got it. He said, knock it on up in there. Well, hell, I'm okay, and I'm hitting this thing, and he's quit, you're going to kill us. I meant hit the breech, not the shell. Hell, it going out that way.
That could have been serious.
Real. I think that's about as scared as I ever saw him.
That could have ended your career quick.
Yes. But we became close. We got to be close.
I bet. So there's other people. How much room is in a tank for people?
Very little. Very, very tight. Very tight. But 99%, 95% of the time at least, that's all I did was drive.
Oh. So will they give you a tour or something that you have to go do, or you need to go? They give you an idea where you're going and that kind of thing?
Oh, well, they knew, had the maps, and we knew, and we did. We traveled a good area. Mm-hmm. We was on the Cambodian border, and we traveled, God, I don't know how many miles, but it was a big area that we worked. I only stayed on the tank for 4 months, a little over 4 months. Okay. And when Lieutenant Crowley left, I asked to be trained. That's the hardest. Hell, I guess I'm lazy, but that's the hardest work I've ever done in my life.
Wow.
There's nothing light about a tank. And, road wheels were coming off, tracks were coming off, having to replace them all the time. Sure. Live like a dog. Live. Oh yeah, hell yeah. Who was? I mean, we were the only ones there. We had to. Mm-hmm. The tank crew had worked on your own tank.
Oh yeah.
That was it, but.
So you was on there for 4 months?
Sleeping on the ground. Oh. You had a choice. You could sleep on the ground or you could sleep on steel. Wow. And I didn't know. Hell, I crawled under the tank first. And Lieutenant Crest said, don't get under the tank. That's a bad place to be. I said, okay. Whatever. Yeah. But yeah, then I went into the ARPS.
Which is what?
An Aero Rifle Platoon. Okay. It was a long-range recon, and they weren't seeing enough action, so they... Long-range recon, you're supposed to go out and recon, assess the area, and call in, let people know what's going on. Well, that wasn't good enough for them, so they wanted us to go out and make contact. Mm-hmm. And they'd have these little low helicopters flying around. If they could see the enemy, they'd come drop us in. Mm-hmm. Aircraft go down, they'd drop us on top of it, pull out the radio equipment, anything savage, blow what, didn't want them enemy to get. Bomb damage assessment after B-52 strikes, we'd go in and assess the damage. We always had this saying, there's 2 things that live through a B-52 strike, red ants and gooks.
That's it.
And that's it.
Wow.
And them red ants, man, they hurt.
I bet. What was the other thing you said?
Gooks, enemy.
Enemy, the enemy, they make it through there.
Yeah, they make it through some way.
Oh, yeah.
Go back to the tanks.
What?
Tell the stories of the.
She says you got a story about the tank you was going to tell before we move off the tank.
It was so much that we did. I mean, we saw a lot on tanks. I mean, we
saw a lot of action.
Saw a lot of action.
You get in there close? Is that what it was? Because I mean, the tank can't shoot that far, right?
Oh, tanks shoot real far, but we didn't. We had what we mostly used was what they call flechette rounds, and it was little arrows. I think there was 10,000 little metal arrows, and you could take. In Triple Canopy Jungle, you could shoot it and clear it out like this room. Oh. I mean, it was amazing how he'd clear it.
It would actually clear the stuff out of the way.
Yes, it'd clear the jungle. Yes, it'd just flatten it. Wow. But, I don't, like I said, I wasn't trained for tank, didn't know anything, and we're out and we're in a firefight, and a little guy pops up with an RPG, a rocket propelled grenade, shoots the tank beside of us, and it was from here to that, not much from here to the wall.
Oh, wow.
So I just, out of instinct, which I've learned probably later, didn't want to think about it, we probably did more out of instinct than training.
Sure.
So I kept grenades, and I hopped out grenade, jumped in there and threw it in their little hole, and killed a couple of them, hopped back on the tank, and that was it.
Oh. Well, I guess you got instinct helped you through that too.
Oh, but I'd get mad. I'm sure a lot of other people the same way as me. And instead of scared, I'd get mad. When
if somebody was shooting at you or trying to get you,
especially if they hurt my friends, hurt my buddies.
True. Oh, that would be.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Hobo Woods, I hopped out and I ran. I chased I'm about to say a dirty word, chased the enemy.
Yeah.
And that's when Captain Krause said, don't do that. Please don't do that no
No,
more,
he don't
Ma.
want you to do that.
Don't do that
He
no
don't want
more.
you to chase it. Now,
We got a tank there, but I want to chase them with a rifle.
So a hand grenade, explain to people what a hand grenade is. It's got a thing, you pull it or whatever.
Yeah, a little pin that sticks in. You just pull it out.
How
and
big
the
was it?
lever.
And how heavy was it?
They're pretty heavy. I don't know
Bigger
the
than
exact.
a baseball? I mean,
Yeah, it's heavier than a baseball. They look like, I think you used to call them pineapple. You know, they had the edges that one.
Right.
Now it's different grenades, but
That's right.
this is concussion
So when you
grenades.
pulled
is
it, how long do you have to throw?
7-second fuse. Supposed
7
to be.
seconds.
Supposed to be a 7-second fuse. And you know, if you had any sense, you'd pull it and hold it, count 1, 2, 3, and 4, so it wouldn't be thrown back on you.
Oh, I see your point.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want it to be thrown back on.
Right, right.
Wow.
You don't want to throw it and it be laying there and then throw it
Oh,
back. So
man.
you take it and pull it and go 1,001, 1,002, you know. give
I'm
it-
afraid I would pull and throw quick.
Hell, you know, you learn.
I'm
You
sure
learn
you're
when
right.
you first get over there. You know, you're going, oh, you know, didn't really know what the hell you were doing. Probably didn't know what the hell I was doing when I left.
how big of an explosion did they make?
I think the kill ratio was 15 meters.
15 meters.
Yeah,
Okay.
it
Wow,
was-
pretty good little area.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
We always used to joke a lot of times. We'd say, keep it up in the air and it better kill ratio. hold it longer
So,
before
yeah.
you threw it. But hell,
Did they have hand grenades?
oh yeah, oh yeah.
They had them too.
Oh,
The-
yeah.
The enemy had the hand
Yeah,
grenades too.
and RPGs and machine. I mean, they had everything we had just about. Other than well, they had tanks actually. And after we left, years later, they had planes. But you know, our air support's what saved a lot of us, medical and
Oh, sure.
militarily. But it was funny, like get people out there, new buddies, and it happened to me too. C4 is an explosive. It's a plastic explosive, and you could take it and light it, and it'd burn real hot. Well, that's what we'd heat up Sioux rations or alert rations on. Well, the new guys, we'd let it get down to just about nothing. So stomp that out now. And
Oh.
we didn't do it. That was too much.
Can't stomp it out, huh?
Oh, it'll blow up.
Oh, it blow up.
blows up.
Oh, it blows
It's
up if it
like
goes
like a
up.
big fire. We wanted it small so it wouldn't take
Yeah,
their foot off.
that's
Wasn't
right.
wanting to hurt them, just wanting to scare them.
Yeah. That probably worked.
Yeah, it did. And they finally made us stop doing it. Said somebody's gonna blow a foot off.
Well, you talked about flying in and you go down. How do you get out of a helicopter down to the ground to where you need to be?
We rappel some, but not a lot down a rope.
Oh.
Most of the time, just come in, and we had
They
a
get
lot of
loaded.
pilots that would hit the ground, let us hop. A lot of them would hover
I
and
got
jump
you.
out.
Yeah.
But I mean, you knew you were coming in, and you knew you was going out that door, and you wanted out of there as quick as possible.
Oh, you want out quick.
You wanted out quick. I wish they'd get hell. I don't kept count of how many missions we made. I mean,
Sure.
it was we were on call. One reason I joined the ARPS was I'd learned. I'd talk to other people. Hey, you'd get to come in more often, and you had a cot to sleep on instead of the ground. We saw more action, a lot more, but you lived a little better.
Yeah.
You know?
A cot sounds good compared to the ground.
Hell yes, it did.
Oh, yeah.
It was.
Well, one of the things there is, you know, I'm sure you got to be pretty close friends with those guys that you're living and dying with in some cases.
Yes, and every one of my close friends are dead now.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm sure most all of them, like me, thought I'd be the first one to die. But,
How do you think you made it through?
God's grace. I don't know. I just won my time. Just
Yeah.
luck.
Yeah.
Draw, roll of the dice. Draw. I mean, I was stupid enough to believe, and I mean, I believe with my heart and soul. In fact, it's Lieutenant Crowley talking to him one night, and that's when we, I think, really got close. Of course, we talked about home and stuff, but I sat there and we talking, and I knew it. I said, Lieutenant Crowley, I'm not dying in this shithole. I know it. I feel the same way. I said, I know it. After that, every time tank tear up, get hit or anything, he'd pull me off. Usually the crew had to say, come on, you're driving.
Oh.
He'd take me, we'd get on another tank. Of course, he was
Yeah.
platoon leader. He had to go, but he knew it and I knew it.
You
We
make it
both
through?
came back, yeah.
You made
We
it back?
both came back.
You stay in touch with him?
Well, I did. He's dead now.
Oh, he did. Now.
Yeah.
Well, where was he from?
He was from Philadelphia.
Well, okay.
And my best friend, I guess, over there, if you Philip Massengill from Iuka, Mississippi. Him and his buddy Jack Miller, they both came up here, and they went through school together, went to the Army together, and went through every unit, AIT, everything, to NAM.
Oh, wow.
And they both made it back.
Wow.
Good people, good country boys.
Let's talk about some more stuff you did in Nam. You talked about rappelling and doing some of the stuff and getting out of the helicopter and doing that stuff. Talk about some more stuff you did over there.
I got to go to Saigon a couple of times. Went to Vung Tau in country R&R, but we had what they called a Kit Carson Scout, and that was a local, a Vietnamese that knew the area, and he took me home with him one weekend. I was very interesting, informative.
Wow.
Went down there and stayed all weekend with him.
Where was this at?
Saigon.
He took you into Saigon.
Yeah, to his
Wow.
parents' house.
Wow.
Stayed at his parents' house all weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. You
Yeah.
to see how they lived. I mean, they just treated me like
Wow.
their own son.
That's
They-
very good.
Of course, they couldn't speak English, and I couldn't speak, but he could. He was the
Yeah.
interpreter. But
Oh, okay.
it was.
And that's what he did for our.
Describe
Yeah.
the culture.
Tell about what. The
Well,
country
you know, people say that, and I can tell you, I could describe where I was at, and then somebody else that was, especially the Marines, they were more up north. Well, that was different terrain than the terrain I was in. Just like the Delta, it was real wet. You had, and up there it was more mountainous, more hilly. Where we were at was a lot of jungle. It was right on the Cambodia border. Michelin rubber plantations, hobo woods, Black Virgin Mountain, Nui Ba Dien. I mean, we worked all that area right there. We'd go down into Cu Chi some. Being on a tank, or hell, ARPs, you could fly. And Vietnam really not that big. Vietnam is not a big country. You know, kind of like Tennessee, except Vietnam goes north and south. Tennessee goes east and west, a lot
Okay.
longer and thin. That's the way Vietnam was.
Okay, very good.
It is.
You wear the rubber shoes.
No, we had the combat boots, kept the combat boots.
Are you familiar with the rubber shoe, tire shoes?
Oh, you talking about the sandals?
Yeah.
No, that's what the NVA mostly wore. There was a difference between Viet Cong and NVA. Viet Cong was the ones that lived there, would come out at night or whatever. Fight. NVA came from the north. They were trained. They were good soldiers. They really were. They lived through crap too. I mean, tunnels. The tunnel complexes were amazing.
Oh.
People. I've seen on TV where like Cu Chi, they tour. Tourists go over there and go through them. I mean, I've crawled down in them, and you'd be crawling, and then there'd be a whole room where there'd be like a room this big with hospital,
Wow.
medical stuff. Go back up. I mean, it was huge.
Wow.
Their tunnel complex
Something
was.
they built before the war.
I think they had it when the French were fighting
Oh,
over there.
that
They
far
started
Wow.
building them. But
Did
they were
you
good.
know what you were fighting for and what your mission was when you were there?
Not really. The only thing I knew, I was fighting for America.
Oh.
That was it. That's the only thing I needed to know.
That's pretty good.
That was it.
That's pretty good.
I mean, it was a.
Do you think they knew what they were fighting for and why
but
we were there?
I'd say most of them didn't, and I don't know that for
Oh.
a fact. But I mean,
So when you saw the enemy, they were always after you. They were going to shoot you every
no,
time?
they was usually running. It was really
Oh.
weird, yeah, because we were such larger forces and had all air superiority.
Mm-hmm.
They would hit and run ambush,
Oh, I
which
got
was
you.
good. I mean, that's good
Sure.
tactical warfare.
Mhm.
Since they were small, they would hit a lot of booby traps, a lot of mines,
Mhm.
But
You hear a lot about the booby traps and the mines that you you could walk on them or you could run over them in a jeep or whatever.
in a
right?
tank.
In a tank.
I went there the first week I was there. They had a 500-pound bomb, American bomb, that hadn't exploded, and they set it up as a booby trap. And the tank hit it, and it put a hole in it that you could crawl in. And I mean,
Oh.
that's
Wow.
16 inches, 8 inch, 16, I mean, steel. And I mean, you could literally go up, I mean, that big a hole.
Wow.
People that knew tanks said they'd never seen anything like it. It just, shape charge, it was just perfect the way the tank hit it, the way it was set up. But yeah, a lot. first week I was there, I was on a truck, a convoy, and they'd have to sweep the roads every morning. They'd sweep it, you know, they'd put little mines. What I understand, Afghanistan, Middle East was a lot worse IEDs than what we were, but, you know, it was interesting. It was an experience.
I'm sure. And how long were you over there?
A year. They called it, I think I've got a book, 365 tour, 365 days in the Army. Now, Marines, it was back to talk about, you know, people say, oh yeah, it was this or that. It was for them where they were at. But you go to a different part of the country, you'd think you were in a different country, really.
Oh.
I mean, I'm serious. It was that much difference in the terrain.
Okay.
No.
Well, what about the could you see the enemy well, or were they really, really hidden?
You know, I've heard people over there said they never saw these, but we saw them quite a bit.
You saw them.
I saw them quite a bit.
But
yeah.
they talk about them being really, really camouflaged.
Exactly. And they're good at that, and they were good at hiding. They had the little holes that they could drop down in and stuff. But we saw quite a few.
If you saw an enemy, you knew you had to take it out. That was
you know, they taught us that and pounded it into our head.
No
Don't
option.
hesitate.
Don't
Don't hesitate.
don't
It'll
think
get you
about it.
killed. It will get you killed. Shoot, worry about the consequences later.
I got
Shoot, and then worry about it. And that's what I did. You know what I mean? I just, you know, well, armed, not armed. I mean, if they were out there in the middle of where we were, they weren't supposed to be there.
Oh yeah. Wow.
I mean, they weren't out working fields in the jungle that thick.
That's right. Yeah. So tell everybody what the jungle was like. A lot of people don't only heard about jungles, but they don't understand what it really is.
Oh God, it's a different world, different world. I mean, like talking about the red ants, the leeches. We set up more than once, set up ambush, and leeches be from your head to your toe.
Oh,
We learned to take cigarettes. I didn't smoke, but take a cigarette and burn them off. You know, close it up instead of pulling. If you pulled, you'd bleed forever. Just take.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, what about leeches? Where do they
Snakes.
come from?
I don't know,
Out of
just
the
out of the
leaves?
ground. Yeah, well, we set up on a creek bank was the worst that we ever got eat up.
Oh.
But I mean, they just come out. I don't know where they come from, but they had a bunch of them. Seemed like
So you saw a lot of wildlife. You said snakes.
snakes. I wasn't there when it happened, but they brought it back, killed a tiger. Literally killed a tiger over there and brought it back, skinned it. I said, wow, how neat. Killed it with an M60 out of a helicopter.
Wow. Wow. I'm sure there's a lot of that kind of thing in the jungle for sure.
Yeah.
And then also,
But you know, like any animal, just like deer hunting, anything else, you make a lot of noise. Animals are going to try to get away from you. Now,
right.
a lot of times you was trying to be as quiet as possible and lay there, but I never saw any elephants or, you know, big game or anything.
Sure.
But I didn't even see a monkey. I don't think that I recall anyway.
Yeah, wow, yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit more about after you got out of the tank. Then you went into you was a pretty good shooter. Or they teach you to shoot?
Yeah, I went through training for shooting, and I shot before I ever went into the military.
Oh, yeah.
Daddy used to take me squirrel hunting with a .22.
Oh, yeah.
So I learned how to shoot, and that's one thing. And I mean, it's just a fact that they like Southern boys. Southern boys were more familiar with, and I've learned now that people in Michigan and other places, kids, you know, like to hunt too, but they like Southern kids. They had them down as being good with a weapon.
So how was things as you get through that learning that concept, and how, was you shooting long distance shots? Is that your goal, or?
Mostly close. It was mostly close.
Oh wow.
It was mostly close.
Wow.
I don't recall ever making any long shots.
Okay. I didn't.
But when I went to the ARPS, he was captain then, Captain Crawley, friends, he came to my platoon leader there, Lieutenant Rich, and said, Moff's seen a lot of shit over here. He said, you know, so hell, I thought he was doing me a favor. That's how dumb I was. put the radio on my back. I humped that radio then. He would not let me take that radio off. I told him I'd give him hell. I loved the man. I mean, he was good. He was a good. I want you beside me. I want you beside. Humped that radio.
Was it heavy?
Pretty heavy. Called it a Prick 25, and it was.
And that was his way of communicating
Yes,
back to.
calling in fire support. Air, anything we needed, artillery.
Could you hear what he hear?
Oh, I would call it in too.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have it, have the grid coordinates and call in a spot around, and there was times when we didn't even hear spot around go off, much less say it, and give them grid coordinates again. So we were all screwing up over there. Believe me, believe me, we were kids. We were screwing up.
How did you keep from getting shot from your own enemy? From your own people?
Well, I know there's a lot of people that died from friendly fire, but the unit that I was in, the ARPS, there were but roughly 22 of us. Now, it fluctuated, people, getting hurt or whatever, rotating, going back to the States or whatever, but it was 24 people. So we knew pretty much, without seeing where everybody was.
Right.
We were tight.
We've got Linda Williams here with us. You got something you want to get him to talk about?
Tell them about the food.
Food sucked.
The food?
Sea ration.
The food wasn't good, huh?
The food was not good. Now, every once in a while, my regimental commander at the time was Colonel Patton, General Patton's son, who made General, and he was a good guy, and he would fly us out hot meals every so often, which was a treat, man. It was a big treat. But mostly it was sea rations. Then when I went into the ARPS, it was LRP rations, which LRP rations are better than sea rations, kind of like MREs are better than LRP rations. They get better each time, each war or whatever. But God, I was.
Y'all dig holes in the ground to cook stuff on?
Hell no, we took C4 and lit it and heated it up. We dig holes. Call cat hole to go to the bathroom.
How long did you go without changing clothes? How'd you go?
We went, Don, I swear, we went weeks and weeks and weeks without same clothes, no showering.
How did you clean? How'd you stay from?
You didn't. You stunk, but everybody stunk, so it didn't matter. You just didn't.
Wow.
Yeah, like I say, and it's weird. I go into something that's supposed to be more dangerous or whatever, but I live better. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
I get to take a shower, hell, every week,
Yeah.
What was your worst experience over there?
You had the worst experience.
God, I don't know.
Does any of it stay with you now?
Oh yeah, I think about it. Like I was telling you about the tank getting blown up. Yeah, that'll always be embedded in my mind, I guess that was probably because I hadn't been in country, but I don't know, 2 weeks or less, and that was.
And it was your tank?
No. If it was my tank, I wouldn't be here. It killed everybody on the tank. The guy, I just met him. I didn't know him good. He was from Philly too, and they told me hop up and put it in neutral, and I hopped up and his hand. The biggest part they found of him was the trunk area. That's all they found of him.
Wow.
It was the first, I guess you get calloused or get used to it or whatever. Now you never get used to it. You never get used to it. You just become a little calloused about it. You've seen it. Okay, it sucks. Almost make you sick. But first, like the first few times you were in contact, in a battle or whatever, hell, first time or two, your adrenaline is up, but you're a little after that, I don't recall ever getting afraid, scared. I got mad.
Oh yeah.
But I learned decades later I was an adrenaline junkie. I guess I still am. I live off adrenaline.
Even now.
Yeah, even now, I sure do. I sure do. Yeah. I guess it's just in me. I don't know when it occurred. I guess I was in high school. I drove cars, tore them up.
So when you got finished, you was there for 365 days. You was ready to go home. Was you ready to go home?
You know, I came, so if it hadn't been for Captain Crawley, West Pointer, he taught me how to stay in the military. I was going to make a career out of it. Lieutenant Rich, who was my platoon leader at the time, he said, got a VRB, you get $10,000 if you re-enlist, and this was in '69. I'm going, oh, this sounds pretty good. He said, retire after 20 years, you know. I'm going, hell yeah. Captain Crawley said, you're going to come back here at least one more time, maybe two more times. Your odds go down each time.
Oh, that's right.
He
The odds.
said, you got too much going for you. Get the hell out and go home. Go back.
What was it like when you came home?
A different world again. I mean, it was,
People,
they
how they treat
changed. You know, not bad. Like I've heard stories. I never was. Nobody ever, you know, I don't know what I'd done if somebody had started talking funky to me about it. I'd probably hurt them, and I'd probably regretted it.
Yeah.
Just like I came back, I couldn't drink legally.
Oh.
And I swore, any bartender not serve me, I was going to go over the counter. I was going over the bar. You're going to serve me.
You just need to drink.
You damn right. You're going to serve me what I've been through. You know, I went over there a boy, but I came back a man.
I'm sure.
And I said, hell, ain't nobody going to deny me anything that everybody else is doing. But no, I wasn't, you know, and even people here, I guess it was my friends, you know,
Yeah.
small town, you grow up, everybody knows you. They know who the hell you are.
Yeah.
But I've heard some horror stories about the way people were treated, but I wasn't. I really wasn't. I was.
Well, that's good.
People always kind of looked at me weird anyway. A little strange. He's not quite right.
Did the military experience and the things you learned, did it help you?
I wouldn't have taken anything for it. I'd do it again. I'd do it again today. I would. I would. It was a.
I'd go and video it for you.
Let you do. I would.
I'd probably get shot.
You know, that's one thing. I see all this stuff on
Yeah.
YouTube and stuff. I'm going, hell, I never seen any cameramen out around us.
I didn't know there was a job for me.
Yeah, I didn't even know they were there. I mean, I'm
yeah.
serious.
Yeah, there's
it was.
some pretty good stuff.
Yeah, it was. I'm going,
Yeah.
where the hell were they?
They weren't in your area. were
No, no. The one, me and Lieutenant Rich, anyway, there's a picture of it. I got it at the house. Well, they had us stage that. We went out, now go up, hold your gun up. I'm going, I got to go through this. You know, they have nothing on. They just staged a picture, put it in. Well, they were doing a whole thing on the ARPs. They did a whole fold out, like 8 pages on the ARPs, and they just wanted pictures.
Sure.
But yeah, it was an honor to serve in the military. A privilege and an honor. It was, and like I say, I'd do it today in a heartbeat.
And he didn't know what he was fighting for, but you knew he was fighting for America.
That's it. That's all I care about.
Yeah. Man, I appreciate you telling
Well, I
these stories.
appreciate-
I'm sure you got 1,000 more stories, and when we get finished, you're probably going to say, I wish I could have told this, and this. So what
That's
Linda's
it.
going to do is probably just going to we'll just have to do it again sometime and mark them down. So we'll make that happen because Marshall and I have talked before, but this time we're more free to do what we want to do and talk about what we want to do, and we can continue this.
I don't like to tell stuff that I feel like I'm patting myself
That's right.
on the back. You know.
That's
Yeah,
it.
I am. Yeah, I am. I mean, you know, anybody went over and fought, they know.
That's right.
They know.
And we know plenty, including Linda's brother who didn't make it
Yes,
back. And
yes.
that's really hard, and you saw that. And I'm sure, even though I don't know what it's like, but I'm sure I would be mad too. I can just imagine the anger that would build up. And some people probably never could let that go, as you know. You know that some people didn't come back as healthy as you were.
Yeah, yeah, that's
But
true.
I'm proud you came back well, and I'm proud you have all these stories to tell, and you made it back safe.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I do.
Thank you very much. We've had Marshall Moffett with us today, and we're coming to you from the Warrior Project in Fayetteville, Tennessee. Linda Williams has been doing the camera, and we appreciate her making these arrangements to make these happen. And these will be playing sometime along the way here at the Warrior Project in Fayetteville, Tennessee. We appreciate you watching.